I'm with Bobby.
You're with Bobby C. You're with Barry Goldstein.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Number one guy.
Hey, Chuck, man. Kim, keep away from me. Sure, this is my...
Just a Diet Coke.
Is that all?
Yeah, thanks. Away from the back and seats.
How you doing? Frank Cosmos. Hey, Frank, how you doing?
Can you please take your seats? You remember me, It's tough. All right, we want to get started here. The first thing I want to do is I want to welcome everybody here tonight. I appreciate you all coming for the honorees. We're going to start the night off by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. We have two of the cheerleaders from the high school all-star game, Sonia Balian and Ilena Bokovic. Could you please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is Father Burke here? Uh-oh. That's all you know. Moment of silence.
He's looking for football players.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Bob, we're going to ordain Milt.
Is he here? Is Paul Kozak here? Where are you, Paul?
father coach.
Come on up here.
So you know what he's doing?
Bail us out, Paul.
Let us pray. O loving Father, you brought us here together to honor these folks. They reflect what you have given them. They've used your gifts wisely. Bless our time together this evening. May we enjoy it, and may we revere them and emulate them. Father, give them a big heart, a gracious heart, a thankful heart. Bless the food we are about to receive. Bless those who have prepared it. Look with special love on those who are wanting in food and other goods. We ask all of this in Jesus' name, amen.
I'm there for football.
Thank you, Paul. He's a football official, by the way, so I guess I owe him an extra game. And without further mentioning, Mr. Harry Donahue, he's going to be our Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you. Thank you, Milt. I think Milt deserves a big round of applause for trying to round everybody together here tonight. He wanted to get started, he said, at 7:10, and he did a pretty good job. We're just about approaching 7:30. I'm not going to bore you with any KYW stories. People say that station's boring enough sometimes. But I've been lucky enough to be at KYW for the last 20 years, and for about 19 of those years have been getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and really I feel like I've become a part of a lot of people's lives over those last 2 decades. It's funny, all the stories we do at KY, be it sports or politics or business or whatever it is, the one question I always get whenever I'm at a gathering such as this is, what's Betty Duckstein look like? I said, what's Betty Duckstein look like? No. Some people still want to talk. I'm not going to compete with you, but enjoy your dinner. And we'll be back in a few minutes. We have, as you can see, quite an array of honorees up here. We're going to introduce each and every one of them individually and provide a little bit of background as to why they're here tonight, and let you meet them and hear from them personally. So have a good time eating your dinner, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
School guy. No, he didn't pay me to say this. His name is Ron Marinucci. He's sitting back there, some of you. This is his first year. He'll be going into the NFL. The final thing I want to do is I want to read off all the people that are in attendance here that are former inductees to this chapter. I'd like you all to please just stand up and just hold the applause till they're all done. Bill Escher, Bob Lutz, Bill Manlove, John McEnany, Mike Rather, Ron Jaworski, John Quinn, Jim Riley, Jim Rogers, Vince Trombetter, Tom Elliott, Eddie Veit, Eddie Bram, Bob Clark, Patrice Cohill, Reds Coletta, Ed DiCamillo, Vince Papali, Ted Solari, Charlie Guida, and Vince Presto. I want to thank you all. These are our former award winners, and I want to thank them all for coming. Philadelphia Daily News. I want to thank Ron Jaworski from the Eagles Nest, and I want to thank Bob Clark from the Maxwell Football Club. And I also want to thank Jim Gallagher from Icon Systems Incorporated. anytime I've called them and asked them to buy a table or participate in any way, they've never said no. And I really appreciate that, and I want to thank them for it. And there's one other guy, Nick Cicali from American Airlines. Yeah, I did forget Nick. Somebody reminded me. But Nick's done a lot for us, and I want to thank him also.
9 of them are with us. 2 others will be honored posthumously and are represented by family members, and all will be given the chance to come up and personally thank you for showing up tonight on this very special evening for them. Before I get started, I'd like to thank a couple people who I noticed are in the audience tonight who were instrumental in my career. Back in 1983, at the start of the United States Football League, I talked to a gentleman by the name of Leo Carlin, who was at the time holding every job possible in the front office of the Philadelphia Stars. And Leo is with us tonight. Leo, stand up, would you please? Leo now with the Eagles, back with the Eagles. Everybody thought Carl Peterson put that organization together, but it was really Leo Carlin. And my broadcast partner in those days is also here tonight. He's also a member of the Hall of Fame. Where's the Hawk? Vince Papali. Vince? Vinny taught me how to live on the road. That's all I'm going to say about that. Remember that night in Anaheim, Vince? We'll all get in trouble. All right, let's proceed. Our first inductee began his career at the Lighthouse Boys Club here in Philadelphia. He was a soccer player in high school at Northeast High. In fact, at the age of 15, he signed his first professional contract for $5 a game. My only advice to him, get a better agent. I think Jimmy Solano is here tonight. Maybe Jimmy can help you out. In any event, Walt Barr went on to play 25 years of professional and semi-professional soccer in the U.S. and Canadian leagues. He played on our national teams from 1948 to 1958, including the Olympic Games in '48, and also the '50 World Cup team in Brazil, and the 1954 and '58 World Cup qualifying rounds. Walt's coaching career was even longer than that of his playing career. For 17 seasons, he coached at Frankfurt High School. Then he went on to Penn State. He led his team to a record of 185 wins, 66 losses, and 22 ties. And in 1979, his team finished 3rd at the NCAA National Championships, and that year he was named the National Coach of the Year. His most memorable moment as a player came in the 1950 World Cup when he assisted on the goal that allowed the U.S. to upset England. I guess it was something like, at the Times, maybe Bob Patrone could put this in perspective. It was sort of like the shot heard around the world, right? The Bobby Thompson shot of home run in baseball. Maybe this did the same thing in soccer. Walt and his wife, Davies, are very proud of their 4 children, 2 of whom kicked in the National Football League, Chris and Matt. My honor to present to you tonight as an inductee to our Hall of Fame, Walter Barr. All right, well, we got a pose for this, okay?
You said enough, I shouldn't say anything.
Just look there. Okay, I'll hold this for you.
I thank you. Someone once said, remember the past and cherish it, but don't live in it. And looking up here tonight, it looks like we're honoring ancient history. And I think I may be the oldest one here. I'm not sure. But I will let you know that I'm still playing. I'm in my 70s, I'm still playing. But I may give it up, not because of physical problems, but I'm losing my temper too much. We had a game last week. The referee called me offsides. We had a heck of a battle, and he said to me, well, you really weren't offsides, but your belly was. And it sort of it made me mad at first, but he was right. Philadelphia has a pretty good history of soccer. I'm accepting this award tonight for all the people that went ahead of me and made a name for themselves in Olympic and World Cup competition that came from Philadelphia. Just to give you a few, the first international team that went out of the United States played in Sweden in 1916. 3 of those 11 players were from Philly: Al Blakey, Tommy Murray, and Walter Bergen. The first Olympic teams that we competed on in 1924, 8 of the starting 11 players were from Philadelphia. The one that everyone always talked about was Andy Stradan. And we had players on the Olympic teams, and in every Olympic following that. In 34, they also had 8 players from Philadelphia in the starting 11. One of the players there was Hun Ryan, a great baseball and soccer player from Philly. In the first World Cup ever played in 1930 in Uruguay, the United States beat Belgium. The first goal scored was by a Philadelphian named Bart McGee, who was also my first coach at Lighthouse Boys Club. So on behalf of all those old-timers, I'd like to thank this group for the honor bestowed on me and my family tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Walt. Our next inductee is a native of Jacksonville, Florida, where he attended Raines High School and lettered in 4 sports: football, basketball, baseball, and track. He went on to a career at Southern University in Baton Rouge, and later in 1971 was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, where he went on to play 14 years in the National Football League, 13 of those with the Eagles, and I don't know what happened, but one was spent, I think, in Dallas. One was spent in Dallas. In any event, I'm sorry I had to mention it, Harold. Just the facts, just the facts. 3 times he was an All-Pro, including that glorious year in 1980. And I know Ron Jaworski is here, remembers that year well, as do all of us. Up until 1987, Harold Carmichael had the NFL record for catching at least 1 pass in 127 consecutive games. I mean, just to play in 127 consecutive games is something, let alone catch a ball in each one of those. In terms of history, he ranks 6th in the NFL's all-time reception list with 590 receptions, 11 team records, including 180 games played, and 8,970 yards, plus 79 touchdowns. Since 1991, he has owned a structural steel fabricating company, HCA. He still lives in the area in Glassboro with his wife Beatrice and his son Lee, who I understand is a pretty good football player himself. My pleasure to bring to the podium now Mr. Harold Carmichael.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here tonight. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate all of the inductees tonight. I think it's a great honor. Back in 1971, when I first got off the airplane coming from Jacksonville, Florida, I can remember walking into the stadium and it really wasn't there. You know, it was just a hole in the ground there. They had everything around it, but they hadn't finished the field. And some of the first people that I met was people like Leo Collins, a lot of people at this table, a lot of new people here are at the Eagles organization now that wasn't there. But I can remember one guy that really got me out of a jam when I first came into the league was, I guess, you know, this guy is, you can say, is my mentor, my best friend. He does everything for me. It's Jim Solano. We was talking about, you mentioned Jim Solano, and I said, that's the best guy in the world over there. You know, he's been great. And one of the jams he got me out of, it was another agent I had that really was trying to take all my money, and he didn't do anything for me. So I talked to Jim Solano, and Jim, really, instead of taking money, he was giving me money. Said, you can't pay me, Harold, you didn't make enough money. You know, that wasn't Jim's fault. It was Pete Retzlaff. You know, I was the lowest paid player on the Eagles team at 1971. And looking across, you know, I see the award that I'm getting here, and my name is on it, but I see a lot of other names on this on that plaque also. You know, people again like Leo Collins, people like Ron Howard, Vicky Chatley, and also a lot of people wouldn't say this. A lot of the ball players wouldn't say this, especially when they call you out of bounds. Is this table right here? They always have my number, and they still have my number right now. Look at number 17 table they're sitting in there, you know. And I see, you know, I saw these guys a lot, and the greatest time I used to like to see these guys when they had their hands raised over their head when they saying scoring a touchdown. I did that 79 times, I think, and these guys saw it. You know, they helped me with it. But this is a great pleasure being here. One thing about it, I didn't think we was going to get an opportunity that anybody was going to hear us talk up here tonight, because everybody was talking. I was telling Milt, I said, Milt, maybe I'll have to just get up and say, hi. Nobody heard anything, you know. We had a lively table down, you know, a few lively tables here. But not only that, from that table, I know Ron is here. Ron, your name is on this plaque also. Vince Papali, your name is on this plaque also. You know, these guys have been tremendous in my life and my growing up, and you know, it's a few people that I know I haven't seen out there, but I know some more at the table back. I guess y'all can see me around the corner there, but I see my wife B. She's sitting over there also. There's been a backbone for about 19 years now going on right now. So that's one, and I also see Jim's sister, Marie Marsha, that is, I tell you what, she's the backbone of HCA, my steel company, and without her, the company probably wouldn't be running right. But she does a great job, and I like to tip my hat to her. And like I said, there's a lot of other people out here that I'd like to say hello to, and thank you very much for being a part of my life and my growth in this Philadelphia area. I only have 3 minutes here, but I tell you, I can talk all day, because there's a lot of people out here that has been great. A lot of people that still supports me and work with me, and I'd like to say thank you very much again to the Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. This is a great award for me, and I tell you what, it'll go high up in somewhere in my house, and I tell you what, it's deeply, deeply appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harold. Our next inductee graduated from Abington High School back in 1938 and went on to Temple University, but withdrew after about a year and a half. She got married, she had 2 children, but she returned to Temple, and she went on to win letters in hockey, in basketball, and also in softball, all between the ages of 25 and 29. She continued as an athlete after graduation, playing basketball and softball in Hawaii back in 1951 and 1954. And in fact, she has continued to play, or did continue to play, field club hockey until just recently. She taught health and physical education at 3 schools in New Jersey. At Pittman High, she was the field hockey coach for 38 years. And her Pittman field hockey teams won the state championships in '74, in '81, in '82, and in 1983. Her basketball teams at Pittman won 9 league championships and only 1 losing season in 18 years. She has a long list of awards prior to this evening. She was inducted into the National Sports Hall of Fame in 1996. She was the Outstanding Teacher Award winner also in '96. And she was also inducted into Temple's Hall of Fame in 1980. In 1983, the hockey field at Pittman High was named the Madeline Chiomento Hockey Field, and in 1993, Pittman established November 27th as Madeline Chiomento Day. Tonight, it is Madeline's night. Our next inductee, ladies and gentlemen, Madeline Chiomento.
This is a part that scares me to death. I want to thank the committee for honoring me this way, and also I'd like to congratulate the inductees. You know, with an award like this, it takes the support of many, many people. And first of all, I'd like to thank my family, my late husband, who was always there whenever I needed something. And I have part of my family here, because we were military family, and we're scattered all over the U.S. I'd like to introduce my family, my elder son, Thomas, who's a retired Navy captain, and his wife, Kathy, and their daughter and son-in-law, Christy and Larry. Stand up, please. They're the parents of my 3 great-grandsons. And my grandson, Tom, and his wife, Kim. I would like to thank, there's so many people to thank, but I can only give you a few. First of all, I'd like to thank Abingdon High School for the academics they instilled in me, because I entered Temple University on a commercial course. And also for my introduction to sports. I never knew what field hockey was until I entered the 9th grade at Abington. And of course, I was urged to play by a classmate. She quit, but I continued on. And I also want to thank Temple University for allowing me, as a married woman, 2 children to play. And of course, put up with my 2 boys running around the Conway Hall, the gym we had on the 6th floor, and the hockey field, but my classmates put up with it. And Pat Morris, who told me then, she said, "Madeline, you will make a good teacher," and that instilled some confidence in me. And I have to thank my sister Frances, who took care of my 2 boys while I was in school and playing sports. And also at the table there, I have a former student and who was a co-worker with me for over 25 years, Lynn Champion. You stand up, Lynn? And of course, I can't forget my players, my wonderful players, who really took everything I dished out. And they did not mind the work, but you can see with all the hard work, they did accomplish something. And of course, I have to thank my AD. They couldn't be here tonight because they're honoring the Group 1 basketball team tonight, so it was his duty to stay there with them. And my many friends who've been with me throughout the years. The Eschers, Bill and Louise. Louise was a classmate of mine. Louise, stand up, please. How many times did we push the car down Broad Street? The car always would conk out on us. We had to get to Oak Lane for our afternoon classes. Many times you can see us pushing that old car, but we got it started. And Dr. Pearl Kowalski. Pearl, stand up, please. She taught at Glassboro, but she got her doctor's degree here, didn't you, Pearl? From Temple? Yeah. And also, there's Aggie over there, Aggie Segmiller. Wherever I go, there she is. And also, a friend I've had since high school days, Norman Kelly, will you stand up? We're classmates. He was the president of our class. He and his wife have always been around to support me in anything that I endeavored. I was very fortunate to be at a school like Pittman High School. The students were very coachable, and they worked along with you. And Pittman High School gave me the opportunity to teach, not just throw out the ball in gym class. We really taught the skills, and of course it paid off for them. And also I'd like to thank the parents and of Pittman and for giving me their support. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madeline. Our next inductee was born and raised in Roxborough, where he went to Roxborough High and was captain of the football team in '52, and was also a first-team All-Public Center that same year. Also played linebacker. He was one of those 60-minute guys. He went on to play at Temple. 3 years of varsity football. He was co-captain his senior year with the Owls, and was also named the most valuable lineman by the Temple Quarterback Club that year. He also competed in track and field while at Temple in the shot put, the discus, and javelin competitions. He began a coaching career in the late 50s at Triton Regional High in Runnymede. He went on to coach for 20 years and also be a teacher at Frankfurt High School. And at Frankfurt worked under the legendary Al Angelo. In fact, during those years at Frankfurt, he developed 47 all-public linemen. And Frankfurt's record was 174, 40, and 3. In 1983, Ron Halley was selected as the Coach of the Year by the Philadelphia Coaches Association. In 1990, he returned to Roxborough High as the athletic director and is also instrumental in founding the Sports Hall of Fame at Roxborough High School. My pleasure to present to you now our next inductee, Ron Halley.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Ray.
Let's take a picture here. Oh, hold on.
Thanks. That's for me. Thank you. We have quite a few football officials here tonight, so if I get to 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I want you to throw the flag. Throw the flag. Right there, Eddie. I heard you're very good at throwing that flag, so you be ready to do it. Members of the committee, fellow inductees, and friends, first of all, I want to congratulate all of my fellow inductees. I want to especially thank Ralph Recapito here, and it's nice to see you back, Ralph, in good health, and very good to see you. I want to thank him for nominating me, and I'm very proud and honored to have been selected to the City All-Star Chapter of the Pennsylvania Hall of Fame. I feel I've been fortunate in my life and in my career that my profession was a pleasure and enjoyment to me. I enjoyed every minute. I've been blessed with a fine, solid, supportive family. They're here tonight. That includes my parents, which are not here tonight. They're gone, but my wife is here, my sister, and my children, and I'm glad that they're here, and they've been supportive of me through my entire career. I want to particularly thank Temple University for giving me the opportunity to further my education and prepare me for a career. Many people have been helpful to me in my career, and particularly the staff at Frankfurt High School, of which Walt Barr was a part, and Fred Hauser, Elmer Tice, Bill Clausen. They were all great men, Odie Surik, and in particular Al Angelo. If I was a decent coach, a good coach, a large part of that is thankful to me. I'm thankful to Al Angelo for the help that he gave me. And I'm really pleased tonight, in the back when I came in, I saw a raft of Frankfurt football players, and I just want to recognize you guys here because I'm here because of you. All Frankfurt football players stand up for a minute, and I want to give you a round of applause. Former Frankfurt players, stand up. Your former players, stand up. Oh, Bob Daniels, you're 65. I didn't coach you. Sit down, Bob. But thank you, fellas, for everything you've done. I want to also thank the football officials that helped me in the public league when we switched from the NCAA rules to the National High School Federation. Everybody helped me. The officials were great. The guys that were most helpful to me in terms of getting the changes were Jim McConaughey, Milt Halstead did a great job for me, Tommy McLean, Frank Cosman, and the guy whose idea it was to switch to the Federation rules because they were appropriate for high school athletes was Jim Rogers, who's back there and also part of our Hall of Fame. Jim Rogers, thank you for your help, Jim Rogers. I told Al Angelo I was going to speak tonight. He's a famous orator, and I asked him to give me some suggestions as to what I should do as a good speaker, and he told me there's 3 things. He said, stand erect so that everyone may see you. I hope that everyone is able to see me. And he said, 2, speak distinctly and enunciate clearly so that everyone may hear you. And he said, 3, sit down so that everyone will like you. Thanks very much.
We honor our next inductee posthumously. He was born in East Germantown and attended Wagner Junior High, later Ben Franklin High School, was captain of the varsity football team, also participating in track and swimming. He was an all-public throughout his high school career and was also voted the best athlete of the year. In his senior year, in fact, he was the class treasurer, class secretary, and was also honored for having best school spirit. He went on to Bluefield State College in Bluefield, West Virginia, and later studied at Temple and at Penn State. Back in Philadelphia, Ben Johnston worked as a physical education teacher at several schools, including Bach and Germantown High. And at Germantown was first an assistant, then the head football coach from 1972 until 1981. He also was a track coach at Germantown, and throughout his life gained numerous honors. Outstanding Teacher of the Year, Outstanding Service to Germantown, the Philadelphia Coaches Association Service and Dedication Award. This gentleman has been inducted not only one but two High School Hall of Fames in Philadelphia, the Ben Franklin Hall of Fame and also the Germantown High School Hall of Fame. Germantown High School's football field was renamed the Benjamin L. Johnston Memorial Stadium in his memory, and for 13 years an annual Benjamin L. Johnston Scholarship has been awarded. Here to honor his son and grace us with his father and grace us with his presence tonight is Bruce Johnston, here receiving the award for his dad, Benjamin Lloyd Johnston. And this is Mrs. Johnston, too. Hold on, we got to take it. Come on in. Okay.
I'll keep this very brief. On behalf of my mother and my sister, I would like to thank the City All-Star Chapter for inducting my father, Benjamin Lloyd Johnston, into the Hall of Fame. Now, I was told that I only have 3 minutes, so I was trying to think of something that I could say. But some of the things that came to my mind is, normally when you think of Thanksgiving, you think of the time that you sit down with your family, eating dinner, having a good time, a very relaxing day, very peaceful. But see, not in the Johnston family. Because on Thanksgiving, Germantown High School played Martin Luther King High School, and they were very bitter rivals. And see, what happened was, we would go to the game, and normally it would be about 20 degrees or so. My mother and sister would sit in the stands and leave at halftime. But see, I would sit on the sidelines with my father, and I would see Mr. Don Coster in shorts in 20-degree weather. But anyhow, as the game progressed, my father would start yelling at the officials, and then I start yelling at the officials. And then he would start kicking the dirt, and I would start kicking the dirt. And because of the fact that my father never cursed, he would always say John Brown it. So I started saying John Brown it. Well, you know, after a while, one of the teammates went to my father and said, Mr. Johnston, your son is a very supportive person at Germantown High School. Well, see, I had ulterior motives. Okay, sure, I was rooting for Germantown High School, but my thinking was, if Germantown won, then the quality of the food at dinner time would be much better. Okay? You see, it's like this. If we won, the turkey would taste so good. I mean, it would go down so well. And I'm sure a lot of individuals out here can relate to this. But if we lost, I wouldn't want to be a member, or I wouldn't want to be a guest at our table. But in all seriousness, I would, first of all, if he was alive, he would definitely thank my mother for being the backbone, for her love and support. He will also thank my sister and myself for contributing to his gray hairs. Also, there's coaches from Germantown High School, past and present. Could you please stand? Because if it wasn't for you, and just as Harold said, when I look at this plaque, I look at, and I see his name, I see other names as well. These men were a team. They worked as a team. Their hard work, dedication, and expertise helped make Germantown High School a very successful program. And then he will also thank Pastor Robert Johnson Smith, Emeritus from Salem Baptist Church, for before the kids took the field, Pastor Smith would say a prayer to make sure no one would break a leg or a neck. But thank you, Pastor Smith. Could you please stand, please? And last but not least, he would definitely thank the kids, because that is the reason why he actually coached. And that's the reason why we're here today, because if it wasn't for the kids, there would be no coaches, and then there would be no banquet. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee, a graduate of Northeast Catholic High School, where he played football in his senior year, was the captain and an all-Catholic as a fullback. He went on to the University of Dayton on a football scholarship, and it was at Dayton that he was first introduced to football officiating by working some intramural games. Later, during his military service in Germany, he continued to officiate, and when he returned, he became a member of the Eastern Association of Intercollegiate Football Officials, working at the Division II and Division III collegiate level. He was then promoted to Division I and worked the ECAC Conference. In 1994, he joined the newly established Conference USA and presently still works Division I football. During the summer, he officiates in the Arena Football League. Frank Kosman has received many officiating awards and honors during his career, including the Philadelphia Central Board Man of the Year, the Mayor's Award for his work with the City All-Star Game. Ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee, Mr. Frank Kosman.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame for this honor, and to get things on right, I'd like to introduce someone that's been behind me for many years, and that's my lovely wife, Tina. Tina, if you stand, please let everyone see who you are. And also my family, my son Frank and my daughter Kim. My parents are here tonight. Also, my mother-in-law. You know, not many people would bring their mother-in-law, but I do. She's a very nice girl. I also like to thank the number of officials who showed up today. It's amazing. I don't even assign games and this many guys came out. And especially there at table 30, a real group of guys who are very personal to me and really probably my closest friends. Right there, table 30, please stand up and be recognized there. Once, I think Ted Solari asked me, you know, why do you officiate, Frank, with people always hollering at you and screaming at you, and you know, what are some of your philosophies about officiating? You know, I think the biggest reward I receive out of officiating is the friendship that you make through it. It's a special fraternity of people, and if you're not an official, I don't really think you understand the closeness to this. You know, I have friends and work in different conferences from coast to coast and from, you know, Louisiana to Maine, and this friendship is really a big part of it. My best friends are football officials, and just the fact that to work with these guys on Saturdays is enough to, you know, make this whole vocation worthwhile. And about my philosophies in officiating, I thought I knew them all till about 10 years ago. And this involved the football game I worked, and ironically, as a coach up here who will talk later, he was involved in it. This game was between Lincoln High School and Dobbins Tech. Coach Smith coached Dobbins, and Lincoln was coached by a great coach, Lou Grandizio, and it was for a public league playoff game, which was probably the most exciting football game I've ever been in a public league. Dobbins couldn't stop Lincoln from scoring, and Lincoln couldn't stop a guy named Kevin Ingram. Kevin was a fine athlete, a great quarterback, and I can remember Kevin, you know, he's out there today. Hi, Kevin. There you go. But this was probably one of the greatest games I was involved in. And finally, as the clock ran out, or was running down, Lincoln scored to take a 7-point lead. Now, they had enough time to kick off, and Dobbins ran one more play. They're out of timeouts, and Kevin Ingrams took off on about a 75-yard touchdown run. Well, during this run, he probably covered about 250 yards, running sideline to sideline, dodging Lincoln tacklers, and he finally crossed the goal line, and in sheer exhaustion just collapsed out there. Coach Smith seeing this, start to run out in the field, and I grabbed him and I said, Smitty, you're out of timeouts. If you come out, he's going to have to come out of the game. And he said to me something that I'll never forget. He says, Frank, I don't care about this game. So I'm worried about my players. I'm worried about my kid out there. He came out there. Kevin was fine. He got up. Unfortunately, he had to leave the game, and the second-string quarterback had to take the snap for the all-important two-point conversion, and he fumbled the ball. Lincoln recovered and won the game. But I learned something that day, and it took a coach to teach me philosophies. And from that time on, I officiate for the kids. And every time I go to clinics, every time I talk to younger officials, I try to bring that philosophy of working the game for the kids, the most important part of the game. I don't work for coaches or athletic directors or anyone else. I can care what they think. As long as I'm doing my job, protecting the kids and officiating for the kids, that's the most important part of officiating to me. I also like to thank the Sports Hall of Fame for giving me this award, but more important, to honor an official. Officials play a great part in sports, and not many of us think so until we throw a flag that costs someone a football game or something like that. We're not noticed. But they do play a big part in football, and I want to thank the Hall of Fame for that. And receiving this award tonight, I want to receive it not only for myself, but for all the baseball umpires out there, all the softball umpires, the basketball referees, and more important, the football officials. I want to receive this award along with all of you tonight, and thank you very much.
Before I bring up our next inductee, many of the people who were involved with this dinner tonight are also involved with the upcoming Philadelphia City All-Star Game. It's the 23rd annual game. That's the one, the Catholics versus the Publics. It's Saturday, May 17th, 7 o'clock at Northeast High School, and the information is in your program. Each year, the game raises money to help with scholarship money, and each year we get a list of recipients who write back and thank the organization, and Milton, of course, is a big part of that. And I'd just like to give you a sampling, some of the excerpts of the letters. This is from one of the cheerleaders. Dear Mr. Halstead, my name is Kenyana Bush. I'm a recipient of the Philadelphia City All-Star Football Game Scholarship Award. I'd like to thank you for giving me $250 for my college education. It has helped me out greatly. Again, thank you and God bless you. Here's one from Donald Charles Vile, who's a player. It says, Dear Mr. Halstead, thank you for the $500 scholarship helping to further my education at Harvard University. I have learned that hard work and dedication are the keys to success, and one day I would like to return to the City All-Star Game to give back to the program and the players what has been given to me. And one other note from a player, Scott Palangian. Mr. Halstead, this is to acknowledge receipt of my check in the amount of $500 representing a grant from the City All-Star Game. I sincerely appreciate it and will use the funds to offset some of my expenses at Wake Forest. I'm playing football, and I dressed for our first game last week, and I'm the backup punter. Again, thank you for the generous award. Just an indication of what that game does, and we ask for your support. Next, we have a gentleman who we honor tonight from the field of medicine, particularly sports medicine. He attended Lafayette and later got his medical degree from the University of Pennsylvania. He played football and baseball while in collegiate at Lafayette. And since 1978, Dr. Ray Moyer has been the medical director of Temple University's Center of Sports Medicine and Science. He is a professor as well of orthopedic surgery at Temple School of Medicine and has for a long, long time served as the team physician for Temple University's Department of Intercollegiate Athletics. He's also affiliated with Shriners Hospital, St. Chris's, and Methodist. He's a former team physician for the 76ers. I've had the opportunities on and off since the mid-'80s to do a lot of play-by-play for Temple basketball and football. Ray Moyer has been there every game, along with his wife Paige, by the way. And Paige, where's Paige Moyer? Is she here? I know I saw her earlier. Paige, stand up, please. No, devoted wife. Ray Moyer never ceases to amaze me. 2 years ago, Temple opened at Kansas State on a Saturday. The night before, Ray Moyer's son was the starting quarterback for Upper Dublin High School, and I think they played their game at Fort Washington at like 8 o'clock. The kickoff was. At 10:30 the next morning, I ran into Ray Moyer in the lobby of the hotel out at Kansas State. Gives you an idea of the sort of dedication he has to family and also to Temple University and the athletes there. A couple weeks ago, Temple was playing in Kansas City in the NCAA tournament. Rashid Brokenborough against Mississippi came down with a sore shoulder. Actually, it was something that had been progressing. And there was some doubt whether Rashid would be able to play 2 days later when Temple went up against Minnesota. Ray flew out in time to give some treatment to Rashid Brokenborough, allowing him to play in that game. Unfortunately, I don't know if the treatment didn't work, Ray, or what. But even Ray Moyer couldn't get Temple a win that day against Minnesota. But again, it's just an idea of the sort of dedication this man has to the athletes in his care at Temple University. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of a lot of people here tonight. And before all of you leave, I think you will consider this gentleman well worthy of the honor we bestow on him. Ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee, Dr. Ray Moyer. They wanted to do it again, right?
What's that?
Another picture.
Oh. Thanks, Harry, for those kind remarks. And I'd like to thank this organization for this honor that is bestowed upon me tonight. I certainly feel the most undeserving in the light of the other people at this panel, particularly when I stand up next to Harold Carmichael and looking at his belt buckle. There was some question whether Rashid Brokenborough was going to play that game, and I think I summarized it by saying, short of death, he was going to play. I'm not so sure there was much more treatment than that. First, I'd like to thank the Temple family that has afforded their time to come here tonight to share in this honor. And I think it'd be nice if they all stood up because it's a pretty significant number. Isn't it? Don't make me look bad. And I'd also like to thank that group and congratulate them on the care and the caring that has been provided to the athletes in the tri-state area and beyond over these last 20 years, because I'm sure that it is their efforts that has afforded me the opportunity standing here before you tonight. It also is imperative that I say that the presence of Temple sports medicine in the community as it is today is certainly the fruition of a seed that grew out of the brain of Ted Quadenfeld about 20 years ago. What more has grown since then, I'm not sure, but it has continued to flourish in large measure because of the impetus of his personality. A summarization of my progress is that I started on a dairy farm and went to a farm team and ended up in what I call Heartland America on North Broad Street. And I do believe that the community around Temple and the city of Philadelphia is a better representation of cross-section America than what you'll find in the Cornhuskers. I'm also grateful for the professional opportunity that's been afforded me that has allowed me a certain personal satisfaction and gratification. I am also grateful for the vicarious pleasures that I've gained from all the Temple athletes, including the Temple football team, who is going to return, for all those pleasures that certainly have exceeded any of the athletic accomplishment I could ever have dreamed about. I'd also like to thank the Upper Dublin family contingent here tonight, who also was kind enough to share their time. And as a family, we're most grateful for their friendship and also grateful for my children, who I know have been afforded a firm foundation for which to enter into the next level, socially, both academically and athletically. And finally, I'd like to thank my own family, most important being my wife, Paige, who is my loving companion and supporter
what I call my protector, and certainly the brains and the psychological brawn in our family, who has also taken my life what it was and made it more than whatever could have been. And Harry alluded to how much she is present with the Temple, and just to illustrate that was the fact that our relationship and family started on our honeymoon with the Temple football team in 1978. But she has traveled down all these same roads, and without her, this would never have come to the place where I am now. And finally, I'd like to thank my children, both Jed and Emily, who truly are the sunshine of my life and the source of my greatest pride. Here.
Thanks, Ray. Next, we have another Al. Before his career at Temple, he was an all-public in both football and basketball at Mastbaum. Jay Norman was an outstanding basketball player for Harry Litwack during those great years in the 50s, and later went on to become a member of the coaching staff at Temple, both under Harry and later Don Casey and John Chaney. As free season starter at Temple, he finished his career with over 1,000 points. He's one of just 33 members of the 1,000-point club at Temple University. He also was the leading rebounder while at school, and is still listed as the 5th best rebounder in Temple history. Now, this guy does not have the height that Harold has. Where do you see Jay when he stands up here? But he's still the 5th leading rebounder in Temple history. He was on that great team that went to the Final Four. Bob Petrone, I had to go to my what do you call it? Encyclopedia. Thank you, Bob. And Bobby reminded me that in 1958, the Final Four that year was Seattle against Temple in the semifinal, and Temple beat Seattle. Had a guy by the name of Elgin Baylor on the team. Then they played Kentucky in the championship game. Now, Kentucky had played in the region. I think they only had 16 teams that year. Kentucky played its regional games where in Lexington, Bob, which happens to be where the university is located. Then went all the way to Louisville for the Final Four. And Duty Moore, who coached at LaSalle, Bob says that year the NCAA champion was crowned because of geography more than anything else. And anyhow, Temple lost in a close game to Kentucky. I think there were 7 offensive fouls called in the last minute of play. Maybe Jay can reflect a little bit on that. Ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee, they call him Pappy, Jay Norman. Tell us about that Kentucky.
Well, it's great to be here. It's good to be any place when you're 63. The only thing wrong with the story was that we lost to Kentucky in the semifinals, and Ray Charles and Jose Feliciano were the referees. Some of my best friends are officials, but I don't trust them either. I remember we went down to play Kentucky, and there was a guy named Lynn Toff, who, if you're familiar with the game of basketball, you would be familiar with Lynn Toff. Well, walked past Lynn's room. He was laying on the bed in his shorts. He had a big box of cigars and a big bottle of liquor, and I think it was donated by Kentucky. If Josh Cody were alive today, he would probably still want to choke Lynn Toff. Josh Cody, for those people that don't know him, was our athletic director. Fine Southern gentleman. When we played in the regionals in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1958, and you have to recognize that in 1958, if you went to certain places, your team could not stay together. Josh Cody wrote a letter to the mayor of Charlotte and said that if his team could not stay as a team, that we wouldn't go. And they treated us very nice down there. But that same year, later on in that year when the basketball season started up for the pros, Bill Russell did not play when they had an exhibition game in Charlotte because he couldn't stay with his team. So, you know, we have to be very thankful for someone like Josh Cody. I want to take this opportunity to thank the committee for selecting me. When you play with a guy that was as great a shooter as Harold Lear and as great a ball handler as Guy Rogers, very few people notice a mule. And that was my job. You know, you had to go out and do all the dirty things. And some of my teammates are here, and I'd like, as I call them, if they would stand, I would really appreciate it. It's great for me to see them here. Joey Goldenberg. Otzi Reinfeld. Pete Goss. It's going to take Pete about 10 minutes to get up. The great Pickles Kennedy. Frank Walker. And our trainer at that time was Ted Quadenfeld. Tell you a really interesting story about Teddy. We were getting ready to go to the Garden to play in the Holiday Festival. And Guy Rogers was a great player, but he always had to be sick in order to be able to play. And Guy had a tremendous desire to go to sleep, but he couldn't sleep. So he went to Ted and he asked Ted for a sleeping pill. And Ted says, "I'm not allowed to give you a sleeping pill." So Guy kept bugging him, so Ted gave him an aspirin and said, "This is a sleeping pill." He says, "In 2 minutes you'll be asleep." It was like, those are the kind of things that you had to put up with some people. Also here tonight, my first summer league basketball coach, Bob Cackeries. Would you stand, Bob, and let everybody see you? Some guys from my era that are here that are very close to me. Jerry Smith and Clyde Basham. Jerry and Clyde, would you stand? And a good friend of mine, John Tucker, who came here from, not Maine, what's above Maine? Vermont. John, would you stand, please? My oldest daughter is here, Nzinga. Would you stand, please? Joy, my next daughter. Joy, would you stand? Joey. Now that's my first family. My second family, Jason, would you stand, please? The little guy over there. My granddaughters, Malika, and my oldest granddaughter is Naima. Would you stand, please? And one of my old teaching mates, Ron Colston, is here. Would you stand, Ron? Oh, no. It's been really great for me to come out here and to see some of these great people. I've had my knee drained quite a few times by Ray Moyer. You know, he and Ted are trying to get me to get the operation with the plastic knees, and I'm gonna hold out until these wear out. I want to thank the committee again. I want to thank Ralph, especially. Ralph gave me a call and said, "Would you mind? Would I mind? Anybody want to honor me for anything, I'm there." Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pappy. Our next inductee is a 1959 graduate of Penn State Ogons, a lifelong resident of Philadelphia. As a softball player, Ray Purry had an exceptional career as a first baseman. He participated in 7 world tournaments, 13 regional tournaments, and in 1986 he was inducted into Philadelphia's Softball Hall of Fame. He is currently in his 6th season as the head coach of LaSalle University's softball team. He served first as an intern coach in 1992. The Explorers were 33-16 that year on their way to the championship of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And after the 1992 championship season, he was officially named the head coach. Prior to joining LaSalle, he was a volunteer assistant and also served as a head coach at Archbishop Carroll High School in suburban Philadelphia. He guided those teams to 3 playoff tournaments in the Philadelphia Catholic League Southern Division, including a division title in 1990. It's my pleasure to bring to the podium next our next inductee, Mr. Ray Purry.
I had to write this speech because when you get older, you forget things. And if anybody has a computer, it's in a font 16, so you know how big it is. There are some people here tonight that I would really like to thank, starting with the people from LaSalle University who are sitting at table 25. When I got the position as the head coach back in 1991, 92, I made a statement to the athletic director that I loved coaching so much that I would probably do it for nothing. And every time I look at my paycheck, I think he believed me. I'd like to thank my players because the saying is that a coach is only as good as his players. And my players are sitting at table 26. If they'd stand up. I've been very fortunate to have been able to recruit some of the finest athletes in this area. These young ladies are not only outstanding athletes, they're excellent students. I mean, their GPAs are way above 3, and I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of them. My sons are sitting at table 1, and they were fooled. They thought table 1 was going to be here. So they're down in the corner at table 1, and they've put up with me for these many years. They've been through my playing career and my coaching career. They've heard my gripes and my complaints, and I appreciate that from them. But I've saved a special thanks for someone. In the past 6 years, my health has not been real good. Physically, I've had a lot of problems, and I've really had the honor of having a young woman who sort of took care of me. She's caring, she's understanding, and she's loving. And if it hadn't been for Debbie Hampton, I probably wouldn't be here tonight to accept this award, and I want to thank her very much. She's done me. And lastly, I want to thank the committee for bestowing this honor on me. I'm very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray. Our next inductee we honor posthumously this evening. He was a physical education teacher for 23 years at Southern High. For most of that time, was also the head football coach and head baseball coach at Southern. His football teams won the Philadelphia City Championship in 1944 and also in 1945. During World War II, in the Navy, he taught boxing in the Naval Officers Training Program at the University of Pennsylvania. In his time, he was not only regarded as one of the best coaches in the city, but one of the greatest athletes in the history of Westchester, what was then Westchester Normal School, now Westchester State College. He was captain of the football, the basketball, and also the baseball teams, and was a tennis singles champion. Perhaps his finest moment occurred while coaching Southern on December 7th, 1945, in front of better than 60,000 at Franklin Field, as Southern went up against West Catholic in the city championship game. Ted Solari, who's here tonight, longtime outstanding scholastic writer for the Philadelphia Daily News, about a year ago wrote a story about what Ted described, and many people still to this day say was perhaps the best high school football game in the history of the city. On that date, with 7 minutes left in the game, Southern trailed West Catholic 13-0. All of a sudden, Southern scored 3 touchdowns and beat West 18-13. And it was, as described by Ted and by many who were there and recall it, maybe the best high school game in the history of Philadelphia high school football. He later became great friends with the man he coached against, Bob Doherty, who was the West Catholic coach on that day back in 1945. In 1970, Joe Pitt moved to Florida and died at the age of 75 in Lake Worth, Florida. Tonight we honor his memory, and here to accept his induction into the Hall of Fame is his son, Joe Pitt Jr.
I'd like to thank the committee for nominating Dad. He was a hell of a person. He was a wonderful father, a legend. His decades were the 20s, the 40s, and the 50s. I don't have to tell you about the 20s, 40s, and 50s. It's written there very eloquently by Bill and the committee to put together this program. There are things that you wouldn't know about a person like that who has lived. He was here. He left us in 1980. During his time here, there was no place he could go up and down the East Coast that he wasn't recognized. He had a lot of personal friends from Miami to Maine. I have a letter in my pocket from John Sandusky, coach of the Dolphins, offensive line. Al Talinsky, Michigan State University, thanking the family and mentioning Dad's name in passing. He always thought an awful lot of the kids that he coached. He was a hell of an athlete from what I hear in his day. There was one thing that you could always count on with respect to him coaching. There was nothing he would tell you to do, either at baseball or football, that he couldn't do as well or better than you might even try to do it. And he would always give you credit, even if you couldn't do it as well as him. There was one error, I guess, in the program. They said that Dad won 3 city championships in baseball. Actually, it was 5. So he has credited at South Philadelphia High School a total of 7 city championships and 7 public league championships. Pretty tough act to follow is his son. He has another son, my brother Don, sitting at that table. That table consists of some very important people in Dad's life, including Red Scoletta, Tommy Sabo, 2 important people in my own personal life, Dave Williams, West Philadelphia High School great in the 30s, Westchester great, Westchester State College when Dave was all conference as a tackle. Al Jones, athletic director for Marple under Lou Bonder, who was also a Hall of Fame winner. My family and my brother's family, consisting of 5 grandchildren at that table, and one guy is a representative of the Longshoremen's Association, and he's worth looking at. Stand up, son. Joe Pitt III at 6'2", 295 pounds. So with that, I want to thank the association. We're very proud as a family, and thank you again, and Dad, here's to you, baby.
Thanks, Joe. Our final inductee was born and raised in North Philly near 25th and Jefferson, where he went to high school at Northeast High and later received a degree from Lincoln University. At Lincoln, Bob Smith earned varsity letters in 3 sports, football, baseball, and wrestling. He was also captain of the baseball and the football teams. Not only that, but he was the sports editor of the college newspaper. Probably received some pretty good publicity. He was secretary and treasurer of the Political Science Club, and in 1958 was named Athlete of the Year at Lincoln. But it was as a coach and teacher that he really made a difference in the lives of those fortunate enough to meet him. It was at Dobbins Tech that the difference was most felt. Most of the Dobbins students, like Bob, African American, and his counsel and help always extended far past the playing field. In 1968, he was the director of Touch the Untouchables. It was a program for gang members. And later he was director of the year-round camping program at Camp Larchwood. In 1983, he was the Recreational Area Director Aide of the Department of Recreation for Southwest and West Philadelphia. He retired in 1994 from Dobbins after more than 32 years of teaching and coaching, more than 20 years as the head football coach and the head baseball coach at Dobbins Tech. An honor tonight to bring to your attention here, an honor as another member of the Hall of Fame, Robert G. Smith.
First, giving honor to God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for this opportunity tonight. I want to thank the committee for selecting me with this great honor. You never know who is watching you. Tonight, as I look out over this great throne of people, I see my church family. Church family, stand up, please. My pastor, my wife, my church members, my Dobbins family. Stand up, Dobbins. My ex-football players, my children over there, BB, DR, Vaughn, Joe, Fred, Harvey. This is a great occasion. Oh, Kevin Ingram. George Britton told me don't forget to tell the story, but Frank beat me to it. You know, as I look out here tonight, I see a gentleman here. When I first started coaching high school football, he didn't know I was a coach at Dobbins. He thought I was some fly-by-night person off the street and I was giving him the devil. And I thought he had blew the call. He said, "Get out of here, fella." And my coach, now my mentor, Warren Conley, said, no, he's my coach. Oh, he is. You know, there weren't many black coaches in the public league in that time. Tom Elliott, he and I became great friends. Stand up, Tom. There he is, Tom Elliott. And I see Jim Riley here, who I've learned to respect. Now, McNally doesn't remember me, but when Vince was coaching, officiating baseball in the American Legion in 1948 in the Department of Recreation, I was one of those kids. I seen Leo DeRocha go after umpires and, you know, and he looked at me and said, "Kid, be quiet." I'm like Leo DeRocha, and I'm kicking. He said, "Kid, you out of the game." Okay, hey, I was a star. I was like Leo DeRocha. I got thrown out of the ball game. Thank you, McNally. I want you to know that as I look over this throne tonight, I see so many friendly faces. Men that I worked against in football, men who have officiated my games, men who I've just come to know and love. I see Ed back there, Fred Hauser, Vince Presto, my high school mate Tony Stagliano. All of you make me so happy to be here tonight, to be honored by you. And I want you to know, I was at a high school football game when Cliff Hubbard came to me and said, "Hey, Bob, they want me to know if you would accept being honored by the Hall of Fame." The pension, what? Would I be honored? When, where? This is the thing that really, really made me happy. I went home and told my wife, you know, the letter didn't come. I said, well, maybe it's just a fly-by-night situation. But here we stand tonight with over 500 people or more. Thank you, thank you, thank you for honoring me, and God bless you all.
Thanks, Bob. I want to bring back the gentleman who's really responsible for most of what happened, not only tonight, but in the years before with the Hall of Fame dinner. And it seems to be getting bigger and better year after year. Our president, Milt Halstead. Milt?
It's coming to a close.
Just about, yeah.
I have one award left that we're going to give to a gentleman tonight. Got to take it out of the box. Who happens to be a friend who I happen to meet through football, through officiating, and through coaching, and we've become the best of friends. I can say so much about the guy, but most of you people in this room know him, and without saying any more, the President's Award tonight is going to a very good friend of mine, Mr. Ralph Recapito. Where's Ralph? Oh, I just sent him down there to count tickets. Ralph? The award says, from the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, the President's Award presented to Ralph Recapito in recognition of your outstanding dedication and untiring service to the Sports Hall of Fame 1997. Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you. He has me running all over the place. I was down there counting tickets, and I want to thank everyone who made this award possible. I especially want to thank my lovely wife, Dolores, who is not only my wife, but she's my partner, my friend, my lover, and whatever else. Right now, she took on a new title of being my nurse. I'm doing a great job. I want to thank the City All-Star Chapter, Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, especially for the great work that they do for the All-Star Game. I know Milt has mentioned several times the raffle that will be taking place in September. If you could possibly purchase a ticket if you haven't done so tonight, and Doug McCauley has chances for the Eagles. Eagle season tickets. All the money, believe me, all of it goes towards a worthy cause, is to provide scholarships. And the 22 years is our 23rd game. The All-Star Game has helped 340 students. We've given out $165,000. We want to go over $175,000 this year, and whatever you can do to help. If you look at the page in the program next to Mr. Carmichael's name up there, it explains what the raffle's all about, and it's really a pretty good deal. It's only $10, and the Doug's raffle tickets are only $2. So whatever you can do to help, it's certainly really worthwhile. Again, thank you for this award. I greatly appreciate it, especially because it comes from the guys on this committee. They're really the best people around. Thank you very, very much.
We got a couple of more things to do, and then we're going to bring this thing to a close. I lost my train of thought here.
Getting old, Milt.
Someone asked me to mention about the lottery, how it works, okay? It's pretty self-explanatory. If you open the book and you read what it is, it's the daily number that's picked from the Pennsylvania State Lottery for that day. The dates are listed in the program, and the number from that day is the winner. If you bought that ticket, and yes, you can win if the number comes out twice, okay? I can't explain it any easier than that. Now we're going to go to the door prizes, and I'm going to bring our secretary up, Mr. Ed Bram, and he's going to announce the lifetime members also. Okay?
Go ahead, Eddie.
Ray, I'm using font 20. We now have 53 lifetime members, which we're very proud of. And I invite anyone that would like to become a lifetime member. The cost is $75, and they get a very nice gold card. There are some here tonight that I would like to present those cards to. I'll call you all up, and you can all come up en masse. Andy Goldner, Estelle Goldstein, Bob Lutz, Tom McLean, Andy Panucci, Eddie Weiss. Thanks very much, folks. And we invite, as I say, anyone to join us as a lifetime member. If those fellas would come up and get these, I'd appreciate it. We can't have it.
How about the door prize?
I don't have any tickets to pull door prizes.
Okay.
That's what they're counting.
Where's Mel? Here comes somebody for one of the lifetimes.
Here comes Eddie. Eddie.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, I know. Somebody.
He's having a hard time.
Eddie, stay there. There. Thanks, Coach.
Want me to do some school closing numbers or something, Milt? All Philadelphia public and parochial schools are open tomorrow. I think. All right.
While you're doing that, I'm going to have all the inductees start taking a group shot along. Okay? Frank Osmond's in here. Wait till it's over. Wait till he gets done with this. We don't want to get right there.
All right, we'll go as quickly as we can with these. There's about 30 prizes to distribute. Want to pull, Harry?
Sure. Write down what they want.
Nick Cicali, a Hall of Fame golf shirt. Somebody write what it is down so we get it. You got another one?
There it is. Dick Harvey.
Dick Harvey, another Hall of Fame golf shirt.
Jay McGinn.
Jerry McGinn, Hall of Fame golf shirt.
Solano.
Mr. Solano, a Hall of Fame golf shirt.
I represent.
How many got?
Yeah, Cozy Morley.
Cozy Morley. You got another golf shirt there, don't we? How many is that? Is that 5? That should be it. The net.
How are you?
Kim Cosman. An autographed football donated by the Maxwell Football Club.
There you go.
Kim got the Maxwell
Jimmy. There you go. Jimmy.
Shows. 2 tickets. A 3-ring binder from the Phillies. Jennifer Horner. Okay, Joe. Another 3-ring binder, Desiree Oliver.